Hi there. Welcome to My Other's Keeper. How you doing tonight? Um, so tonight we're going to be talking to Samara again about this time about her transplant journey. So let's wait and see if anybody's actually going to show up in our chat. So Sam, what have you been up to the last few weeks?
The last few weeks, I've been sitting and hiding in the dark for the most part.
And why would that be?
So at the end of January, I got my first cataract surgery. Yay! Thank you, diabetes.
Yay.
That was fun. I started getting cataracts in my like late 20s, early
Yeah.
30s. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, 4 weeks ago, I got my first one done, and then last Friday they did the second eye. And yeah, it's always nice when you see your surgeon and he's like, they booked you in now? It's only been 3 weeks. We never do them at 3 weeks apart. And I'm like,
Oh
cool, here
yeah.
I am.
I'm special.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, everything's good. I had my checkup today and they're happy and I have no swelling and all that kind of fun stuff. So
And your eyes are looking good from here. I didn't see any bruising or anything like that.
no.
So, yeah, that's good.
And they haven't been like leaking weird things, which apparently is sometimes normal. So that's good.
Weird things like
I
what
don't know.
type of weird
Apparently
things?
they just seep sometimes. So
Mm,
no, mine didn't do that.
I suppose, yeah, like platelets or whatever you would normally seep from a wound or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
So,
know. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. I'm like, yeah, something's oozing out of my eye. Unless it looks really bad, I'll just take that as normal.
yeah. Sorry, I'm
But yeah,
just moving my camera a little bit. There we
that's my
go.
fun. But it's a very bright world out there, and colors are so vivid. It's crazy.
We need to
And
play that game Hues and Cues again.
yes,
See if you
we
can
do because
actually.
it will be very different. Colors will
Yep.
look very because like everything looked like I'm learning from between when they did one eye and not the other, and I was doing the thing.
Yep.
Things were very yellowy grayish and kind of like
Oh,
looking through multiple layers of saran wrap
yeah.
and dark and darker.
Oh,
And now
really?
white is so crisp and clear white and colors are so
Wow.
vivid and sunlight it burns literally and that's not a vampire joke. It literally burns. My eyes are still
Yeah.
really light sensitive. Um
Sunglasses will be your friend for the rest of your life, I think.
Sunglasses and my cool glasses. I also have these. They're
Nice. Your
very
Bono glasses.
yeah.
You look like
So
Bono.
and my other best friend is I will turn it away so it's not showing the label for product placement, but my artificial teardrops here. I mean
Mhm.
my surgeon told me anytime you're feeling light sensitive, do some drops. So that has
Yep.
actually helped with the second because he told me that when I went for my second one. And
Okay.
so yeah, I got through the really, really bad light sensitivity way quicker on the second eye because I was like, oh, I'm feeling light sensitive. Do some drops.
Excellent.
Better,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, the instructions make all the difference in the world, don't they? Just being able to say, "Okay, yeah, I've
and see,
got."
the first time he said, anytime your eyes are bugging you, use the other drops, the non-prescription ones, which I didn't really take into account light sensitivity as bugging me per se. So my mistake.
Well, yeah, because I mean, who gets bugged by light? So,
I
yeah.
always have. I've always been light sensitive. My whole family's light sensitive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have been too my whole life. I used to get headaches all the time,
Mhm.
and my eye doctor said, "No, her eyes are perfect. She just has giant pupils."
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
I needed to start wearing sunglasses.
I have also learned that it's quite common for people with like the lighter color of eyes, like green and blues and like
Mm,
grays and stuff like that, are quite often more sensitive as well too. And then I've got like probably half my medications are may cause light sensitivity. So yeah, I'm sure that
right.
helps. Like I don't remember my mom or my dad ever walking out of the house without sunglasses on, no matter how cloudy or gray or yucky it was outside. So yeah. But for them
Alright,
it was part of it was because they worked at swimming pools for years and years and years, but
that's true. Yes, you kinda get used to it, right?
well, and it,
Yeah,
like the glare when you're working at an outdoor pool.
for sure.
But yeah, that's
Absolutely.
kind of what I've been doing for the last, and not being able to go to the gym, which has been like messing up my whole system.
You're kind of a gym rat, aren't you? We're gonna call you that, a
Well,
gym rat.
I
No?
mean, it sounds really impressive, but if I explain what I do at the gym, it's far less impressive.
Yeah.
So,
So
but
what
yeah,
is it that you do at the gym?
well, I walk down a hallway. I mainly go to the wellness room, and I use
Mm-hmm.
a stepping machine, but it's like a recumbent stepper. So you're sitting
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
using the
Yep.
stepper out in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
but it's made a huge difference. And for a while, when I was still using my wheelchair, I was doing their strengthening and balance class. But I'm not doing that since I broke my hand and I'm not taking my wheelchair, because walking out on the track to where they do that and then having to walk to the far end of the track and collect all the equipment and the weights and stuff and then come all the way back to do the class and then do it in reverse and put
That's
it back
your
in.
workout right there.
Yeah. And I can't get up and
Wow.
down from their chairs that they use for that. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not getting as much of a full body workout not taking my wheelchair, as dumb as that sounds.
Ironic, right?
Because part of my workout at the end of taking my wheelchair was going up and down the ramp like 8 times forward, 4
Mm,
times backwards, because they have a
mm-hmm.
really steep ramp at the field house, and it was a good
Mm-hmm.
upper body workout. But
Yeah. Well,
but
that
they're
and
gonna
they've changed the entryway there, haven't they?
no, they just refloored it and
Oh,
moved where the reception area is. They didn't We were hoping that they'd fix the floor so you didn't have to go down that horribly steep, stupid wheelchair ramp, but no, they didn't do that.
no. Why would they
We
be, smart?
I told the ladies at the front that I had a wonderful suggestion that would make it easier for all the people that use that ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "And what is that?" And I said, "Well, either a chairlift or a T-bar would be fantastic." And they all laughed
Mm-hmm.
and thought that was pretty funny. And the one lady's like, "You know what? We have a staff meeting coming up on building and maintenance. I'm going to suggest that."
Absolutely. I mean,
What I wouldn't give for a T-bar to pull me up that when I was taking my wheelchair, let me tell you. Oh, and anybody that I've told that idea to, that's, we're usually discussing it on the ramp, is like, I would be so in for that.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
charge $5 a ride, they're in,
it is
like
like,
it's yeah.
honest to God, I had to kind of like peter out on the end of my workout every day because I knew how to get back up the ramp on my way out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. My other option would be take the elevator up to the second floor and then go down the stairs, which didn't sound like a very safe option, because
Yeah.
they're scary stairs to walk. So and it's
Right.
a big turn, and yeah, I don't think that'd be.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's been my
Anyway,
couple weeks of not going to the gym, other than as my friend says, a tourist.
right.
Because once my eyes aren't so bad that I'm hiding in the darkness in my room, and I gotta turn this off because it keeps telling me that I have to do what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Um, and once I can leave my room and get out of the darkness, I've been going as a tourist to the field house because it's social connection too, and at least I'm getting a little bit of exercise walking down the hallway.
Yep. And that's exactly what this channel is about, right? We connect, we talk to people, we get things moving. And so we do have Mary here from Blessed to Crochet. Hi, Mary. Um, and so she will be actually joining us on Thursday talking about fibromyalgia.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
a
going to
tough
be a
one.
very interesting conversation, yeah, on Thursday. So,
It's
yeah,
one of
that's going
those
to be
that
very
can
cool.
affect you a million different ways ones.
Yep, that's right, for sure. So, anyway, so let's go on a road so far with what we have spoken about. So, we've talked about diabetes and
Mhm.
how it's affected you. You started out at about age 3, you said
3.5, yeah.
3.5, and it just kind of has gone throughout.
Things were great for a number of years, other than learning how to adapt. And I mean, my mom and my grandparents were never well, nobody else gets to eat candy because you can't have candy. It was just, you learned that
Yeah,
you don't get candy, and I was fine with that. Like, I don't care.
yeah.
I don't want candy. Ugh. I was never
Candy,
a
who
candy
wants
kid
candy?
anyway. Yeah, I was never a candy kid. I was like, I'll take an apple.
Oh,
I was a weird kid.
Nature's candy.
I'm still weird, right? So, like,
Oh, yeah, weird
yeah.
is a quality to be
I don't like
admired. It's
chocolate. Need I say more? I don't like chocolate, okay,
my
everybody?
younger child does not like chocolate.
No.
So, yeah,
Things
no.
in chocolate bars I like, but I don't like the chocolate bars themselves.
Oh, okay. Are
But
they
yeah,
too
so
sweet?
I just don't like chocolate.
Okay, fair.
I don't like
Alright.
the taste of it. I just bleh. Every once in a while, I'll
Alright.
have a hot chocolate, and I'm like, "Yeah, that'll do for a few months."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then you
But
definitely don't wanna have my hallucinations, my taste hallucinations. The other day I had a coffee. It was supposed to be a dirty chai, so a chai tea with a touch of coffee in it, and it
mhm.
tasted like a warm mocha.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, no.
yeah, Mary says
I mean, I
if you're
eat chocolate enough that I still have chocolate bars in the fridge from 3 years ago's Halloween. Need I say much more?
that's exactly right.
Yeah,
You're not if you're not weird, you're not doing something right.
exactly.
Exactly.
But yeah,
That's
so
exactly right.
funs and perks of diabetes, lots of them. They're great.
Yep.
As we covered, one of them was poor healing and crap that led to my amputation. Yay, we.
Yay.
Um, so then now we're hitting on kind of the other big one today.
That's right. And what is that other big one?
Kidney failure and transplant.
Kidney
Yay.
failure, kidney failure.
Kidney failure. Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I visited you once for sure, maybe twice at dialysis. It
It's a
was
very cold
freezing
place.
cold in that room.
Yeah, it's very cold in there.
Yeah.
They don't have warm blankets across the street either. But it's
Oh.
not quite as cold across the street, I realized either. So,
Oh, okay.
and for the longest time, they had lockers so you could bring
Mhm.
like and store your own blankets and stuff. But then they
Mm,
started having problems with people who had bed bugs transferring stuff. So they had to quit
that's
that
just what
practice.
you want, right? Bed bugs
No,
with people with immunodeficiency type problems.
yeah, no,
So,
no.
yeah, no, that was not good.
So they had to
Okay, so
cancel that.
your kidneys failed and your pancreas had pooped out when you were itty bitty.
Yeah.
So,
So
what kind of transplant?
kind of the progression of my kidney failure is, it's gradual over time that it's failing. And
Right.
so, at one point it's okay, you need to start reducing fluids in your diet. Like, and fluids, people are like, okay, drink less, no big deal. But no, no, that's like counts ice cream and pudding and soup and and if you eat a popsicle, once it's melted, it's liquid. So like things that nobody thinks about. Like anything
Yeah.
that melts into a liquid or turns into a liquid is considered liquid you have to reduce. So you
And
get,
to me, it seems almost counterintuitive that you would want to reduce your liquids. I would think, knowing absolutely nothing whatsoever about kidney function, I would think you would want to increase your fluids to flush it out.
yeah, but your kidneys aren't flushing.
Okay, that's the
You're just
problem.
retaining everything. A lot of the majority of people, once they get to full kidney failure and end up in dialysis, do not actually pee.
Wow.
Yeah,
Not even with like a catheter or anything?
no.
Oh my
Because
word.
if you think about it, urine is your body just
Oh
getting rid of
yeah,
all the crap, right? So if
absolutely.
your
Yeah.
kidneys aren't filtering and getting rid of crap, there's nothing to expel out of your body. So, yeah.
Wow.
It sounds like a really weird question when they start asking you, "Can you do a urine sample for us today?" And it's like, "Yes." Mm. Hold
And
on,
then
when did I
there's me
last
who
go to the
can pee on
bathroom?
command.
Yesterday. Yeah, I last went to the
Yeah.
bathroom yesterday afternoon. I should be good. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird. I never got to the point that I wasn't at least being able to go to the washroom at some point, but I was probably the best person to ever take on a road trip though, because I never had to stop. That was my biggest concern on the way home from transplant is what if we have to stop at every town for me to go to the bathroom now, Linda? And she's like, then we stop at every town.
That's right.
I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yep.
yeah. So it was kind of gradual and like so they start having you reduce your fluids, they start having you change what you're eating so you're not eating foods that are high in phosphates or potassium because those are the two biggest things that basically can like kill you. Um,
Oh,
so
so what are some of those foods?
so potassium foods, the top 5 potassium foods or top 6 potassium foods are potatoes, tomatoes, bananas, nuts, raisins, and oranges. Those are your top
I
6.
knew for sure about the bananas. I had no idea about nuts.
Yeah.
I don't usually
All
think of
things
that in
that
the
sound like
same.
they're healthy and you should eat lots of, right?
Exactly. Well, nuts, they're not even in the fruit category. I
Yeah.
suppose technically they are. They're tree
But
fruits.
literally, potassium isn't in anything that grows.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Anything that grows, which includes meats.
Wow.
So
Wow.
there
So
goes your
having to deal with
meats, fruits, and vegetables. Ah.
counting your sugars and then now having to count
Yeah.
everything.
And then
Oh my
add in the
word.
phosphates, which is like all your dairy stuff, basically, is the biggest things for phosphates. Like there's huge lists of stuff, but those are kind of like the big things. So phosphates is like dairy stuff. And I remember at one point going to the dietitian going, okay, so up to this point in my life, being a diabetic, I had to avoid carbs and like high sugar fruits and stuff and have
Mhm.
like the free vegetables, which is like lettuce and celery and
Right.
cucumbers, things that are mostly watery so you can eat as much as you want.
Yeah, you can't
And
do that with
and
kidney
having
troubles.
meat. And
Yeah.
now I need to cut those out. I'm like, what's left? And the dietitian literally laughed and she's like, well, you could have cardboard with pepper. And she's laughing. And I'm like, this isn't really funny. This is my life. Like, seriously, what can I eat?
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's more about just try not to eat too much of anything. Oh, okay, cool. Like,
Wow.
and don't drink too much, for God's sake. Don't drink too
Oh,
much.
yeah, whatever you do. Oh my
So now
goodness, and
you'd think that would mean you'd lose lots of weight, but it doesn't.
no, like you've got a medic alert bracelet that like mine just sits here, like it goes between here and here. Yours goes between here and here. Exactly. Yours goes way up here because if you've got too much fluid going on, you really bloat, you retain a lot.
Yeah,
And is that still a problem now that you've had your
no,
transplant?
no. I need to get some links
Okay.
taken out really bad.
Okay. Okay.
Kind of don't get around to that. But so yeah, so kind of the catalyst to ending up going on dialysis for me was when I had my whole foot ordeal because that was
Mhm.
just one extra thing that overloaded the system and it was like, yeah, no, we're shutting the kidneys down. We're done. So
Wow.
the lowest my kidneys got, I think, was down to 12% function, if I remember right. I think it was 12% function.
That's not bad. You're still in the double digits.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think for a little while we dipped down to about 9 before they started me. So,
Wow.
and yeah, and the fact of when they tell you, okay, it's dialysis time is like, cool, I am now tied to a building. Well, okay, in my case, because I went in center, was 3 times a week, every
Yeah.
week for like 5 hours a day. Yay.
5
And I mean,
hours.
there are options for at home and there are some other options and stuff like that. But for me, that was the easiest thing. So
Right.
because luckily I live in the transplant or the dialysis
Kidney.
kidney center of Saskatchewan. So
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be of Canada, but,
yeah, we
yeah, the
still are
first
one of the top ones for
yeah,
transplants anyway.
yeah.
I
The
didn't know how
first
to
kidney
transplant
transplant
day
in
though.
Canada was done in Saskatoon.
It was. It was.
So,
But that's
yeah.
not where I had my transplant actually.
No,
No,
no.
that's
Where
across the
did you have
street.
to go?
So anyway, we get to doing dialysis and stuff.
Okay, sorry.
And
Yep.
so the first hurdle on looking at transplant is because I was dealing with all the stuff with my foot, they could not even put me on the list because I was on antibiotics through all of it. And you
Mm.
can't be on antibiotics when they're going to be doing like major surgery on your body. It's just a no-no because they want to be able to give you antibiotics that affect what they just did, not your body's already like stacked to the hill with it. So
Exactly,
we
yeah.
we talked a lot about transplant, and my nephrologist, kidney specialist, constantly was like, "Okay, the minute you are off the antibiotics. You let me know and we will start the process. And I'm like, trust me, I
Wow.
will.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was on dialysis for about somewhere in the 3 to 5 years range. I like really I don't my sense of time is so warped from how much I've spent living in hospitals that like I'll drive by a building and be like, hey, when was that built? And they're like 7 years ago. I'm like, huh, who knew? Never
Yeah.
noticed that. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I think it was about somewhere in that like 3 to 5 year range. So
Yeah.
once I was off the antibiotic, like the day I went off the antibiotics, my nephrologist put me on the transplant list.
Awesome.
And that's when I was talking to her because I was talking to one of her like coworkers and he's like, how old are you? And I was like, 42. And he's like, you're still in a fine age range to look at doing like the kidney pancreas transplant. And I was like, huh, I didn't think about that. And he's like, talk to
Yeah.
Dr. Clausen about that. So I talked to Dr. Clausen. She's like, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, you would be perfect for that. She's like, we'll send that off to Edmonton because our closest transplant center for pancreas is Edmonton,
Mhm.
which
Okay.
for anybody who's not from Saskatchewan or Alberta watching this is about a 5.5 hour drive away.
Yep.
So I got a lovely letter to come visit them in Edmonton on September 19th, 2018, to go and start going through the transplant procedure with them. Which,
Wow.
as soon as we sent the referral off to them, they halted everything here because they're like, there's no point. You're not going to be going here.
Yeah.
So, first hurdle for me is you have to have a transplant buddy. And more so than
Yeah.
if they've been doing my transplant here, because we had to literally live in Edmonton for 3 months minimum.
Mhm.
And you have to have this buddy who basically lives with you and helps take care of you and learns everything with you. So, like, when you're having a bad day and you're like, "Ugh," they can
Mhm.
help you with your meds and help you with all that kind of stuff. And let me tell you, I spent a lot of time not doing good.
I'm
Um,
assuming you were still doing dialysis during all of this?
yeah, I'm still doing dialysis during all of this. So
Okay.
when they're scheduling these appointments, we're doing dialysis around all these appointments and stuff. So we
Well,
got to
yeah, because
Edmonton, it's
essential
on the
that you stay.
19th.
Yeah,
And it's really fun because every time you have an appointment in Edmonton, it's like, this is your appointment time. But it might be canceled and moved to the next day at any minute notice because organs might come in and they have to cancel and do surgery.
exactly. Yes,
And
that's
it's like,
exactly right.
okay, that's weird. Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you're
that
on a
makes
hurry
sense,
up and
but
wait.
weird. So
Yep.
yeah, so we got there and so they go through and they explain like the procedure and they do god loads of tests. So for
Mhm.
pre-transplant workup blood tests, just for any of you who complain about having to get 2 or 3 little tubes drawn, 28 tubes. 28.
28.
28. And they did it at dialysis in Saskatoon right before I left because they pulled it for my
Yeah,
hemocath, which is, let me tell you, if you have a hemocath, the way to go for blood work.
for sure.
However, as soon as we got to Edmonton, they had to redo it again because there's this whole like they don't trust each other provincial thing going on. Because they're like, yeah, well, we can't trust those results. We have to do our own.
Yeah.
And those poor lab people trying to get that much blood out of my arm, I think they stabbed me like 5 or 6 times trying to get enough blood. And I was just like, I'm sorry. Like,
Ouch.
bring out the heating packs, wrap my arms in blankets. Like,
Oh,
you're gonna
yeah.
need it all. And I'm on a fluid restriction, which makes it harder to get
Oh, for
blood out of
sure.
things, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, great.
Are there no other
So,
veins but your arms that they can use?
not really. Not really.
Okay.
'Cause for diabetics, they're not allowed to stab anything in our legs.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
You'd already
I have
had an amputation, so what was the risk? Another one.
yeah, I don't know. I yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Huh.
been a big. I remember one time freaking out on an EMT because they put an IV in my leg. I'm like, "You're not supposed to do that. I'm a diabetic." And he goes, "We can't get one anywhere else. We blew 4 already in your arms. This is our only option." I'm like, "Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Sure."
yeah.
So, yeah. So, going through dialysis, the first that you get a hemocast, so, like, I don't know if you can see all my lovely scars over
Shift
here.
over a little bit. There you go.
There we go. We've got all
Yeah.
this lovely, like, pockmarky things and stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are from where they literally insert a tube that goes through your chest and down into like just above your heart so it can pull blood or
Wow.
put blood in and cycle your blood technically is what it's doing because it's pulling it all out and putting it back in when it's clean and it's run through all the filters.
Mhm.
But they also try to do either a fistula or a graft, which is a better connection. So a fistula is where they literally go into your arm and they start down by your wrist because they want to start at the lowest farthest point down in your arms because they can always move up, but they can't move down.
Mm.
And they go in at your wrist and they try to like sew together an artery and vein. And that's where they'll put the big needles in when you do dialysis. My veins are too crappy. They couldn't do it. Yay.
Wow. Yeah.
They tried. They tried. That was not a very fun. Like that's a while you're conscious local type surgery, and they, yeah, it was not. They kept
Not
hitting
at
my
all.
nerves. They kept hitting my nerves, and it's like ah,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
great.
I've had that happen. It's like this electrical jolt
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
straight to wherever it's attached to.
yeah, yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
So the next thing they try to do then is an AV graft. So the
Mhm.
difference with that is, and now because they've shot my lower part of my arm, they're moving up and
Mhm.
they use a little piece of like I don't know, a couple inches long of Teflon tube that they attach your vein and artery to, so that they just have to kind of connect them into that on the ends, and then they just have to stab the needles into the tubes instead of trying to get them into your veins, right? So it gives them a bigger surface to work with, and
So
so
are
that's
they still trying to stick in 2 needles because you have an artery and a
so
vein?
so what the it's really weird, like, they kinda just patch them and attach them to the tube. It I yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Okay. We're not medical
And
professionals. We've just yeah.
I just lived through it. And at one time, I
Yeah.
could have told you every single detail to that procedure, but that's material that's been left behind because other things needed filling. So,
Thank
but
goodness. Yeah.
they do 2 spots with the graft because they have to do a lower and an upper one because one's like the in goes the good blood, out comes the bad blood kinda thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I have one that's down here. Oh, hold on, down
There you
here
go.
with
Yeah.
a nice scar. And then the
Yeah.
other one's like up in my armpit.
Mm.
However,
Okay.
however, I'm at dialysis probably like 4 or 5 days after they do this. And I'm like, is this supposed to be puffing out like this? And I'm pointing at the lower one. And I'm like, is it supposed to be like my arm turning purple? This doesn't look right. So they call the access nurse because there's literally 2 nurses that's their job is dealing with grafts and ports and all that kind of stuff and our access to dialysis. And she's like, "That looks like it might be infected." Okay, graphic warning here for a minute. She pushed on it and it went with a bunch of pus. It was gross. It was disgusting. It like blew up. It was gross.
That
So
is kinda gross.
immediately they call in the vascular surgeon, like stat, to come look at this. And she looks down at it and says, "How fast can you unhook her from her dialysis? We need to go to surgery now."
Was it a chance of losing your arm or
No, it was
what
a chance
was
of bleeding to death.
Oh, that's
So
so much better.
by the
Oh
time
my
we
word.
unhooked me and got me down to the OR, which was maybe 20 minutes, as she cut open my arm, the vein and the artery disintegrated in her hand. So she said, "Had we not got you down here this fast, you literally would have bled to death." Good thing it happened at dialysis in the hospital,
Exactly, where the
where
medical
the
people were
vascular surgeons are.
immediately
Yeah, and
yeah,
where the
see, now
vascular
that's
surgeons are.
that's exactly where I say God had his fingers in the pudding there, and
I love
like
you, Dr.
just
Chile.
exactly.
I love our
Yes.
vascular surgeons. I have dealt with them for way too many things because that's who's done all of the stuff to do with my feet too and my legs and
Hmm.
stuff. So they're awesome. I love them all.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was fun. So yeah, back to like, and like after they do these, either the fistula or the graft, they've got to give it enough time to do what they call mature, which is basically it has to heal up so they can use it. So like, yeah, we never even got to that point because it was literally only a few days later. So anyway, back to just using my hemocath, which we never actually got away from technically. It was kind of an exciting prospect, but whatever.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, so that was fun. So anyway, going to dialysis, get the call to go to Edmonton, well, a letter to go to Edmonton to do this interview. So you go there and they check like all of your blood work, and they check like your, they check like you have to go to a heart specialist to get like cardiac blood work to see like if your heart can deal with it. You have to get like, they have to do like check all your veins and arteries to see if you have enough blood support down where they put the new organs in, because there's no
Hmm.
point putting in organs if they're not going to get a good enough blood supply.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you go through like stress tests and x-rays, and they check your bone density to make sure your bone density is okay, because you have to go on steroids and your bone density is going to drop like a rock, and like just test after test after test. And I can honestly say I know which things were good and not good by the end of that in my body, because it's like, yay,
Is there
everything
a
is
chance
good.
then that you could have osteoporosis sooner than later
Oh,
then? Oh,
I do.
okay.
My bone density within 3 months of my transplant was equivalent to an 85-year-old woman's that has osteoporosis.
Zoinks.
Yeah,
Which
I'm
is one reason why you go to the gym, right? For
that's
resistance
part of it.
training
Yeah, that's
and
some of it, and I also take a, like, medication once a month that helps boost that. So I'm now, down to 65 years old, so we're
that's
getting
good.
there. We're getting
That's
there.
very good.
Feels sad when you're only
Yeah,
47, but, we're getting there. It's going the right way.
yeah. A week
Um,
ago, I was just looking at my calendar. A week ago, we talked with my friend Gwen, who had the osseointegration, and she was talking about having a 15-kilogram weight put on the actual metal rod to help build the bone that was
yeah,
holding the rod in
that makes sense.
place.
That makes sense, yeah,
So, yeah, that's
because
where
you have to
weight
get used to
training
that.
and resistance training are super important because it actually
Definitely.
builds up the bone density.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
So, yeah, so they check all that, and they also do, like, psychological evaluations on you to make
yeah.
sure that you can actually deal with going through the process. But that's not it. They also go through like the psych eval stuff of your support person to make sure your
Ooh,
support person is actually going to be a support person.
yes, that makes a lot
So
of sense.
my
Yep,
first thought when they tell me this is, who the hell am I going to take as a support person?
yeah.
I
You
I
don't
I, I don't have
you don't
parents.
you don't
I
have supportive friends.
I don't have friends or people that could like literally give up 3 months of their life and move to
That's
Edmonton.
the
Like,
thing right
who
there.
can do
Yeah.
that, right? Like, who can just, "Let's go."
Well, and
Um,
in 2018, we weren't doing any remote work and that kind of stuff too. Like we weren't set up for that.
no,
People now would be able to say, "Yeah, I can work on the road, no problem."
exactly,
But back
exactly.
then there was nothing.
So, I was actually talking to one of my mom's friends who has been an amazing friend since my mom passed away, and actually 2 of my mom's best friends have very much kind of taken over taking care of me and making sure I'm okay. And
Mhm.
Linda said, "Well, of course I will be your support person, Sam. Like, who else do you have?" And I literally just burst into tears. And I'm like, "But what if Greg's not okay with that? That's her husband." And she's like, "I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm doing this, and he can just suck it up." And surprisingly to both of us, when she told Greg, "This is what I'm going to do," he's like, "Well, of course you would. Who else would be there for Sam to do that?"
Exactly.
So, and yeah, I actually
Exactly.
talked to her just a little bit earlier because she was asking how everything's going with my eye appointments and everything lately. So that was good.
Yeah.
We're going out
Oh,
for
that
coffee
is
next
good.
week.
Nice.
But
Very good.
so yeah,
Nice
so
to
we passed all of our social work tests, and we passed all our physical tests and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So that was on the 19th of September. So then on the 21st, I received a letter saying you're officially on the transplant list.
And that just gets you onto the list. It doesn't get
That
you
just
through to the
gets me
transplant.
onto the list.
Mm.
And they do
Oh,
tell you that
wow.
like there's like a backdating system too. Like they backdate to when you started dialysis as the beginning of your waiting period
Okay,
to
okay. So you've
calculate
got
them.
a little bit of time in there.
So if you've been on dialysis for 10 years, it actually counts for something versus the 3 years, right? Kind of
Yes,
thing or whatever.
exactly.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So that was the end of September. Then I can't remember what came up, and I ended up on antibiotics for all of October. So they halt you on the list.
Yeah, because you can't do it when you're on antibiotics.
Exactly.
Right.
So once my antibiotics cleared, I phoned in or emailed in and let them know I'm off my antibiotics, blah, blah, blah. So November 1st, I get a phone call from Kelly, who's the coordinator for my group of organs. And she says,
Mhm.
okay, Samara, just letting you know you're back on the transplant list. We've unhalted you. So you're back on active for waiting. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I was literally
Mhm.
talking to my roommate that day saying, I really need to sit down and make a list of, what I need to take with me, what I need to pack. I'm like, I've got the one bag that I could pack some of the extra things that I don't have to worry about. Like I could pack my extra phone charging cables and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I'm gonna
Mhm.
pack like the start of my go bag and make up all my lists of everything I need to do and blah 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 blah
We
blah.
have time.
Because you literally don't know. The call can come literally at any time. It could be days, it could be months, it could be years. No
That's
clue.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
The next day at like noon, because I was tired, I stayed up too late, so I slept in. At noon, I get a phone call and I look at my phone. I'm like, it's Edmonton calling again, whatever. So I pick up the phone and Kelly's like, hi, Samara. I'm like, Kelly, you already told me I'm back on the list. She goes, no, no, this is the other call. I'm like, what other call? She's like, we have organs. I'm like, okay. So that's when they
Praise the
get
Lord.
into, okay, these are the conditions from the person. Like they can't tell you
Right.
specifics, but it's like this person at some point in their life has been incarcerated for over 60 days. This person has tattoos, blah, blah, blah. Are you willing to take the risks from that organ? I'm like, sure, sounds great. And she's like, good choice, good choice. And she's like, okay, so here's
Yeah.
your scoop. You need to be at the airport in an hour.
Hour. Did
I'm
they have a
like,
ticket for you waiting?
they fly you air ambulance from Saskatchewan because it takes you too long to get there. So they fly
For
you.
sure. Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
okay, that means I have like half an hour to pack what I'm
Yeah.
going to need for 3 months.
Wow. Bet you wish you hadn't stayed up that night before, huh?
And they're like, don't phone and tell anybody what's going on because air ambulance will be phoning you in the next 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, got it. So literally the next thing that came out of my face when I hung up was, Kat, I need help. And she's like, oh my God, is your blood sugar low? Like, what do you need? I'm like, no, I have to be at the airport in an hour because I'm leaving for Edmonton. They have organs. And she's like, what? Like, yeah. The next day was also laundry day, might I add. So I literally was shoving all my dirty clothes into a bag. And I'm like, whatever. Linda will be there. Linda can do my laundry while I'm still in the hospital. I don't
That's
care.
right. You'll
The
be in
only
a gown
clean,
anyways.
the only clean clothes I had was what I was literally wearing that day. And when the air ambulance phones, they're like, yeah, you can bring a small backpack. I'm like, um,
Is your support person going in the air ambulance with you, or do they need to drive?
normally, yes.
Oh,
And I'm like, I get a small backpack to live on for 3 months. My meds take more than a small backpack. Like,
yeah.
this just isn't computing in my head. But in my
Yeah.
case, Linda has been out driving like long haul trucking with her husband. So
Okay.
she literally is like, yeah, I'll just hop in the car or fly home, hop in the car and So if there's stuff I need to pick up on the way through, I will pick up on the way through. I'm like, oh, good. So then I'm like, well, can I take my wheelchair? And they're like, oh, I think we can squeeze that on the plane. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh boy. How
But yeah,
small is
literally
this
when you get
plane?
it, very little, very little.
Oh.
Like literally for me to take my wheelchair and my backpack, one of the flight crew had to leave their stuff behind. And they have to stay in Edmonton overnight before they could fly back because there was the other part. The reason that there were organs available is because this brutal storm was going through Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Like literally
Wow.
I had to phone back to the aerial ambulance guys and I'm like, guys, I'm gonna be late. Like, I'm trying to get there, but like road conditions were brutal. And like trying to get to the airport was like the other side
For
of the city.
sure.
And like people were driving like 20 because it was so
Yeah.
bad. It was blizzarding. And that was one of those everybody was snowed in for like 2 or 3 days kind of storms. It was great.
Yeah.
Um,
And 20 here in Canada is 20 kilometers an hour, not
yeah,
20 miles an hour,
yeah.
which
So
is
slow,
somewhat different.
really slow.
Really
And
slow.
they just laughed and said, "Yeah, don't worry, take your time. They're actually loading up the plane with extra fuel because they're worried we're gonna have to turn back because the conditions are too bad to fly."
Oh my
I'm like,
goodness.
"No, no, no, we can't turn back. My organs are waiting."
And they will expire. There's a time crunch on
Oh,
here.
so yeah. So yeah, that
Wow.
was fun. So Kat drops me off at the air ambulance airport, which is it's a huge building at our airport, which just is one of those side hangars that you never ever think about what it is.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
like it's huge because the planes and ambulances all park inside of it.
And now
So
do the Stars air ambulances go there as well?
I don't think so.
No,
They I
the
think they have
helicopters?
I think they have they because they land like I know they
They
have an
land
off
on the
base. Their off base might be there too. I'm not sure.
mm.
I'm not sure.
I
I
know
mean
driving up to the airport, I have seen stars on the side of a building.
I can't.
So
I don't remember if that's the same building or not.
oh, okay.
I don't remember.
Okay.
But, I mean, it would make sense if it was that one or right next to it because that's where all the ambulances park.
Right?
And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't. Anyway,
Oh my goodness.
so I get there and the air ambulance people are amazing and they're hilarious and they're funny and they said these are their favorite trips because everybody's in a good mood on these trips. Like
Exactly.
nobody's actually injured or like
Right.
dying, like
Right.
immediately dying, life threatening.
They're
So
not
they said,
trying to die right now is what's
yeah,
happening. Yeah.
yeah, so they said, these are always good trips for us, and they were hilarious because they introduced me to the one guy, and I'm like, "And are you the pilot?" And everybody just cracks up laughing. They're like, "Dear God, we wouldn't even make it down the runway if he was our pilot." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "They won't even get in a car with me." I'm like, "Oh, all right."
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, "No, I'm one of the nurses." I'm like, "Okay."
Yep.
And they're passing out lifesaver mints and yeah, it was a good time. Trying to get on the plane was quite a fun story because as we know from previous video, stairs are not my friend and
No.
I couldn't get up the stairs. So they literally were hoisting me by my belt loops on my jeans up the stairs. And they're like, "Hey, when we go
You're
to take you off the plane, we're gonna just slide you off on the stretcher." I'm like, "Cool, that sounds way better."
yes. Okay,
And I'm
and
kind
now for
of
people watching, I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt here for a
yeah,
moment. For people watching, you've got Penny coming around behind you.
yes,
On one of my favorite, YouTube channels is The Lifeboat. He has a cat named Squirrel Nut Zipper, and she is quite the diva, and she is quite the star of the show. And
yes,
she is a tortoise, she's a tortie. This
nice,
cat is a Sphynx, which would
yeah,
have been a tortie if she'd have had fur.
yes, she
So
would be.
so if she actually shows up, don't be surprised if you're gonna look at the face of a strange shriveled creature, but she is amazingly sweet.
She
One
reminds
of
me
the
of house
sweetest
elves
cats I've
in
ever
Harry
known.
Potter. She reminds me of house elves in Harry Potter.
Okay, there you go. I haven't seen Harry Potter, so I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah,
But
that's
yeah.
kind of what she looks like. And when they first got her, they used to put a sock on her for clothes to keep her warm. So she's a free house elf. Okay,
She's a
anyway, yeah,
free house. See, now that's the one thing I know about Harry Potter.
yeah,
That's it.
Yeah, there you go. I left a drawer
Okay.
partially open. She's very interested in what's in the drawer, so she probably won't be popping over here for a bit. But anyway, so yeah, so I get to Edmonton. Now, once you arrive at Edmonton, there's still the chance that either A, something goes badly with the organs
Mhm.
and you can't transplant them,
Right.
or B, something has changed in your blood work and you don't match,
Oh.
or whatever. So there is a good chance you have what's called a dry run, which means you get there and things don't work and you go back home. But they don't fly you air ambulance back home. You have to find your own way home.
Thanks, guys.
So thank God mine worked. Everything went good. But
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
it was kind of funny because when I phoned Linda, I said, "Hey, Linda, what are you doing right now?" She's like, "Well, we're just pulling back into Winnipeg," because at the time they lived in Winnipeg.
Right.
And she's like, "Why?" And I said, "Well, when you get to Winnipeg, you're gonna hop in your car and start driving to Edmonton." And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "I just got a phone call to be at the air ambulance in an hour." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." So she's like,
It's
"Okay,
like
here's
when
what
you're
you're gonna
having a
do."
baby, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
kinda.
"I need to go now."
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah,
it was like worlds of emotions instantly.
I can't
Um,
imagine.
yeah, so I said, "So, I can only take, like, a small backpack in my wheelchair, so you're gonna have to stop here on your way through and pick up my other luggage because there's no way I'm living 3 months on a backpack." Like,
Absolutely.
"No." She's like, "Yeah, no worries." She said, "I'll" she's like, "Since we're just driving in from being gone for 3 weeks," she's like, "I'm gonna do my laundry tonight, and then I'll leave for Saskatoon tomorrow. I'll stop in Saskatoon tomorrow, pick up all your stuff, stay the night in Saskatoon, and then I'll see you in 2 days in Edmonton." I'm like, "Yeah, if I'm even awake by then."
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Winnipeg to Saskatoon's a 9-hour drive,
yeah,
so it's no
and
joke to
that's if
get
you
to.
don't stop.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yes,
If
yes.
you don't stop
That's
anywhere
right.
for anything, not even a potty break.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so in grand total, from Winnipeg to Edmonton is like almost 15 hours with no stops.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gross,
Wow.
gross drive. So
Yeah.
thank you,
Well, like
Linda.
you said, though, she's a long hauler, so
Yeah, thanks,
that
Linda.
makes a difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so I get to Edmonton and from Edmonton, they either from air ambulance, they either have you go by cab or by ambulance, either of which is your bill to pay. Now, in my case, I am very lucky because of being on disability through our province. I am covered for ambulances. So I'm like, I'll take an ambulance because I don't want
Oh,
to pay
yeah.
for a cab because I
Yeah, you're
literally
certainly
go,
not covered for cabs.
it's about a $70 cab ride from where air
Yeah.
ambulance is to the hospital. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ugh." Yeah, not looking forward to that.
No, not at
So,
all.
yeah. So, I took the ambulance, and the ambulance people were awesome too because 'cause they're like, "Oh, we love doing these trips. These are our favorite trips." And we always feel bad when we find out they were dry run trips, but at least it's for a good reason. But, they
Yeah.
said that they were really glad because it had been a rough day. They had been on shift, if I remember right, the EMTs that I was with had been on shift for 6 hours. And in the 6 hours they had been on shift, there have been 258 accidents, and most of them were fatalities.
Oh my goodness. Well, you said it was a bad storm, so that the accidents make sense, but the fatalities. Oh, Sam. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that kinda was like kind of a, ugh, moment because it's like, "Okay, I guess I know where the organs came from." Hmm.
There's gonna be a few more runs into the airport.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So anyway, they drive me in, and the other plus to going by the ambulance was the cab drops you off at the front door. The ambulance actually takes you right up to the transplant unit. They literally walk in and they're like,
Alright.
"Transplant recipient," and they're like, "Yep," and they just roll on through admitting, and don't even have to stop, and well, they go through emergencies,
Perfect.
just go right
Yeah,
on through and straight up. So that's nice. That's nice. That
that
saved
is
it. Because I'm
nice.
like, if I just got dropped off at the door with the taxi with my wheelchair and my bag, I'd be like, where the hell do I go now? Because
Exactly. Yeah.
it took a long time for me to understand where I was going in that building because it is so confusing because they've combined a bunch of buildings
Is
together
this
and
the
like kind of
Misericordia?
this is at U of A.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and they've literally kind of built buildings and attached them together. So it's kind of a
Okay.
little maze-ish in places. And there's
Yeah.
places that it's like it looks like it's a construction hallway, like where they build up the wood walls to
Mm,
cover where they're doing
mhm.
construction. Except for they painted them and hung up art. So it's like, is this just because it's going to take that long to do construction, or is this like permanent now?
Oh my goodness. We live
I
here
don't know.
now.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. But so yeah, so then you get up there and then they send you to go do all the blood work again and a bunch of scans again. And yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
and the
But
surgeons
they
come
at least they're
in.
making sure though that you're properly, that you're able to do this, right?
Yes,
Rather
yes.
than getting you onto the operating table, doing all of this, and then have you reject it in 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so that was fun and everything's like a big rush because they've got time factors that they're running against.
Mhm, mhm.
And pancreas and kidney are two of the longest lasting organs.
Oh,
So
okay.
my surgery was the end of the
Oops,
so there you go.
we lost
Yeah, so
Samara.
my surgery out of like I think there was 7 out of like from the donor. I think there was 7 if I remember right. I think there was 7 and mine was the last one being done.
Oh, okay.
So my call was on the 2nd and my surgery ended up being at like 2 a.m. on the 4th.
Those doctors, there must have been a lot of doctors, first of all, and then doctors would have been almost exhausted by the end of it, I imagine.
Yeah, they looked real rough the next day when they came in to check.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
like they looked half dead,
Yeah.
like nowhere to
How
belong.
long was the surgery? Do you know?
It was, let me think, 9.5 hours, I think. I think that's what they said. Yeah, 9.5 hours.
Wow, there's movies made about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, fun, fun.
Yeah.
So start with, because it's kidney pancreas, my incision basically starts like right under breasts and goes all the way down to like my pelvic bone.
Ouch.
Giant zipper. There's
Yeah.
178 staples. Oh my God, you're flying. Okay. If my camera goes flying, the cat is hyper. Just a warning.
Just pick her up and show her to the world.
I can't. She's like moving too fast.
Oh,
She's
Penny,
like, oh,
hello.
now she's knocking stuff off the dresser. Awesome.
Of course.
But yeah, so it was a 9.5 hour surgery. And so you're literally sitting, and because there's one little zone in the hospital that's the transplant ward, of course, they've got previous transplant patients in there, and then they've got all these new people all of a sudden to deal with that are in to do with this one case.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so like you don't even see anybody other than when they're coming in to steal blood or steal whatever.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was kind of a crazy time because you're literally just sitting there by yourself. And at one point, they're like, so have you eaten anything today? I'm like, no, I got a phone call at lunch and I had to be at the airport. And no, and they're like, yeah, well, it's like 6:30, 7 o'clock. If you want, just head on down to the cafeteria, get yourself something to eat. Come on by. Like, they didn't even bring us food. Like, you had to go get your
Well,
own. I'm like,
well, because I mean, you're going to be getting surgery, so, a lot of people probably wouldn't be allowed to eat yet,
yeah.
right?
And that's why I was like, should I be eating them? They're like, oh yeah, you've got plenty of time before anything's happening. You can go get something to eat, but whatever you get, this will be the last thing you eat. So make it good. I'm like, okay.
Steak, baked potato, Yorkshire
I'm like,
pudding.
if I'm not back in half an hour, I probably got lost. Send somebody looking for me. And they're like, yeah, don't worry, it happens lots.
But that's also why you have that advocate going with you, right? Your transplant
Yeah,
buddy.
but she's not there yet.
Oh, no, 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 but if it were a perfect
Yeah,
situation,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, down I go to the cafeteria, wheeling my little wheelchair. Yeah, I can't remember. I think I had like a double hamburger and onion rings, and I don't know. Their
Oh my.
cafeteria in that hospital is been amazing. That's such good food.
All the healthy stuff.
Well, it actually like for cafeteria food, it's actually not bad, but they have
Okay.
like burgers and sandwiches and ribs and pizzas and yeah,
Nice.
it's like the food stuff in their hospital, like Saskatoon's down here, they're like, oh.
Nice.
The only issue is the majority of their staff is Filipino, so everything's got spice in it. Almost
Which you
everything.
can't do for a lot of different reasons, and
No, at that point I could not do anything spicy. And after the
yeah.
transplant, oh dear God, water gave me heartburn. It
Oh
was great.
my.
Yeah,
You
water,
live on
drinking
Tums.
water. I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, I need a sip of water." Oh God, now I have heartburn. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you live on perindopril. Yeah.
it's great fun. So
Yeah,
yeah,
heartburn
so
sucks.
then we get into the transplant and have my little time,
Mhm.
and I wake up in ICU, and of course you've got the trach down your throat and all kinds of fun things, and you're like looking around because you can't move because of that thing, and they're like, "Oh, she's awake, okay," and they're like, "Okay." They're asking me questions that are not yes and no. How do I answer that? And
Well,
I'm
you know
like,
sign language. What is
yeah,
it?
not that well, not that
Oh,
well.
okay, fine.
So yeah, so I was just kind of trying to go, like, yeah, no, it's like I don't know, like they're like, do you want this out? So they pulled that out, and I was like so wide awake. It was weird. And I'm like, I feel good. I'm wide awake. And I'm like, how long have I been out? And they're like, well, since the surgery ended, I think it had been like an hour and a half or something. So not very long. And I was just like, and they're like, okay, do you want to phone your support person? Phone Linda, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, hey, Linda, how you doing? I'm like all hyper and stuff. And she's like, I was not expecting this. Why?
What did they put
Awake?
in your IV?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And the nurse just said, no, this is normal. This happens all the time. Don't worry about it. In about half an hour from now,
Wow.
she'll crash and be like dead for the next 2 days. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. I was just like, for the next 2 days.
The adrenaline, I imagine, would
Probably.
be a
Probably.
spike at that point, right?
Yeah, let me tell you, I like barely even opened my eyes the next 2 days. I was like, I just want to die. I feel like I got run over by a truck.
So Linda had plenty of time to show up.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
she did. So,
Well,
well,
that's
and
good.
then we had a little bit of a rigmarole because she's not actual family and they didn't want to let her into
Oh,
ICU.
no.
So she had to go and try to track down the transplant coordinator because ICU, they only let family in. And she's like, yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm her transplant person. And they're like, yeah, we have nothing to prove that. So yeah, she found out really quickly where the transplant offices were and had to track down the coordinator and be like, Kelly, they won't let me into ICU to go
Help.
see her. She's like,
Yeah.
oh God. She's like, yeah, this happens every once in a while. I'll go clear it right now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So then my memories of the next several like weeks was literally waking up and be like, oh, Linda's here. Cool. Hey, Linda. Hey, and she'd tell me about whatever she'd been eating lately or whatever from the cafeteria, and then I'd drift off to sleep again. And the next time I woke up, well, I know it's later in the day. Linda's not here. She's either eating or went back to the room because I have no idea what time it is.
You lose
Nah.
all track, don't you?
Oh
Right?
God.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so I kept. I also had this lovely tendency that I kept like sinking down in the bed and getting myself stuck in the rails on the one side. So they had to keep
Mm.
coming in and trying to get me unstuck from the bed rails. I don't know why. I don't know. And I muchly prefer the one side over the other, which is weird because I have one organ put in each side. So I don't know why. But
Okay, now here's a fun fact. Why don't you tell them how many kidneys you have?
okay, so fun fact. When you have a transplant, unless they have to, they do not take anything out. So I have 3 kidneys and 2 pancreases. Yay.
Yay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
2 organs that don't function and 2 that do, pretty
Yeah.
much.
And they don't like put everything back nice and orderly and all
No,
that. They just kind
no.
of shove it in.
So my kidney is on my left side, kind of in my abdomen, and my pancreas is on my right side, a little bit lower towards like the groin area, but still in my abdomen. And because they're
Mhm.
doing that, they kind of rearrange your intestines as well. So, everything's kind of jumbled around in there.
Oh my goodness.
Good
Yeah.
fun. Good fun. Good fun.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, I've seen many shirts and I really want to get one. There's one about having recycled parts and there's one about spare parts and there's one about spare and recycled parts. And so I'm like, I need some of those shirts.
Absolutely.
But
Yes.
uh, so yeah, fun. So now the next thing I learned was they had a list up in the unit of what the average stay was depending on what your transplant was.
Mm,
And
mhm.
now you'd think things like heart transplants, lung transplants would be the longest. No, no, kidney pancreas is the longest.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, it's 2 organs that they really have to be very
Well, and
careful
they're
with.
literally like cutting you from the bottom. And I mean, even like heart and lungs, they're only going like halfway down, right? So that they said that's a lot of it. But it's
Mhm.
also because there's more chance of like some of the connecting tubes leaking and them having to go
Mhm.
with that and stuff like that. But it's just a longer healing process. So that they slated at about 3.5 weeks in
Mhm.
hospital. I was
Okay.
in hospital for 5.
Oh my
um,
word.
so I remember hitting a point where they couldn't figure out what was going on. My blood levels were so badly off that I was getting 3 units of blood and 3 units of plasma every day. And I literally
Right.
felt like I'd been run over by a semi truck and dragged a few times and then backed up and driven over a few more times. And I remember several times kind of rolling and looking at Linda and saying, "Why did I decide to do this? This was a stupid mistake. Why did I do this? I've made a horrible decision with my life.
Thus,
Why?
the, psychological eval
Why?"
earlier.
Yeah. And it's like, "Why did I do this, Linda?" She's like, "It's okay, Sam. They're gonna figure out what's going on. It's gonna be okay. Like everything's gonna be all right." And normally during that 3.5 weeks is when they're teaching you about your new meds and what each med is and what it does and what it's for and when you take it. And they teach you how to identify by looks at what your meds are and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so in amongst this, I am also not able to keep anything down. So I literally have one of those stupid gastric tube things that's
Mm.
going down in my
Yeah.
stomach and taking everything out of me. So I'm
Yeah.
getting all my meds in liquid form.
Ew.
So my yeah,
The bitterness. So
yeah,
many of those pills are so
yeah,
bitter. Oh my
yeah,
word.
yeah. So I remember a discussion at one point with the 2 head surgeons standing at the end of the bed. And what's really cool actually is I kept being told, "Oh my God, you have Dr. Shapiro. You're so lucky." And this is like from people in Saskatoon and anybody like random people on the internet. You are so lucky. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I have a transplant surgeon, whatever. What I didn't understand before this is Dr. Shapiro is the doctor that developed islet cell transplant for
Okay, now
diabetics.
tell those of us
So
uninitiated what that on
what
earth
that
means.
is one of the things you can get done, that they do for people with like diabetes, type 1 diabetes, is they transplant islet cells, which are the cells that make insulin from a donor or whatever into you to get your pancreas working properly. I think
So if
might
you weren't
it
able
might
to
be type 2
transplant the
too, I don't know.
pancreas, you might be able to transplant some of those
Yeah,
cells. Is that
well,
the
and I
idea?
think this is I think the islet cell thing is when, like, it might be more for type 2. I really it
Mm,
was never an option for me, so I never really learned about it or looked into it. But
mhm.
when I first got there before the surgery, my that's what my roommate was in for, was getting her 3rd or 4th islet cell transplant.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, yeah, but, like, that was a huge development for diabetics. So it's like,
Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
okay, cool." And actually what's neat is his current project is they are now looking at how to take out your own islet cells and get them functioning and then put them back in you so that you wouldn't have to be on immune suppressants for the rest of your life.
That would be amazing. Like, groundbreaking doesn't cover it.
Yeah.
That would be
So when people were saying I'm
earth-shattering.
lucky I have Dr. Shapiro, yeah, I didn't realize how lucky I was.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. Oh,
So
that's really
anyway,
awesome.
we've got the two top surgeons standing at the end of
Yes,
my bed,
yes.
and they're both standing there in their scrubs looking like wasted, and they're like, the one goes, "Do you think it could be blah 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 blah?" And it was a string of like 25 letters. It wasn't even a word. It was like letters, all letters. And Dr. Shapiro goes, "It can't be that." It's like, "Do you know how rare that is?"
Let
And
me guess, it was that?
the other surgeon goes, "Well, yeah, I know, 0.002% of transplant patients. I know." And Dr. Shapiro's like, "Well, switch her to the other immune suppressant and see what happens." And yeah, day and night. The next day, I was fine. My levels were up and I was good. So, tacrolimus, which is the main immunosuppressant they use now, that's like the go to one because it's the newest one.
Right,
Well, at that point, it's still the main
right.
one they use, makes me deathly anemic, like
Oh, wow.
deathly anemic.
Oops.
So they switched me to cyclosporin, which is kind of more
Yeah.
the old school one that people have used for years. A lot of people with like fibromyalgia end up taking cyclosporin.
Mhm.
And yeah, like difference of night and day. Difference
Wow.
of night and day. Yeah. So I was only in the hospital for like I think about another half a week after that, maybe.
Okay,
So yeah,
okay.
that's what was keeping me feeling like I'd been run over by a semi.
Was
'Cause
the
go
tr
figure
was
when
the
you're deathly anemic and having to get 3 units of blood and 3 units of plasma every day, you do not feel good.
No, no, not at
It was
all.
pretty rough. I was regretting my life decisions big time. It's like, "Why
Yeah,
did I do this, Linda? Why did I do this? Why did I let me do this?" Just
but
like,
what
"It's
but
okay.
once you had the right
Do this."
stuff, you must have really just been elated,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
being
Well,
able
and then
to have
and
that.
it's funny because, like, the typical thing is, like, you're supposed to be out in 3 weeks, so, like, within the first couple days, they're like, "Okay, you gotta get up and walk around," and I'm like, "No."
No.
I can't even sit up yet, you guys. Like, there's no way I'm going for a walk. And then we ran into a new problem, which transplant had never experienced before. My prosthetic didn't fit.
Were you swollen?
Yeah, I had 60 extra pounds of fluid on me.
Wow.
So they're like, you need to get up and walk. And I'm like, I literally can't get my prosthetic leg on. Sorry. I'm not going up and
Yeah,
walking anywhere. So
no.
we did this little relay thing where friends of Linda went to my house and picked up one of my old prosthetic limbs and drove to Lloyd with it, Lloyd Minister on the border. And then Linda drove there because that's like the halfway point and met them and had lunch and picked up my leg and then drove back to Edmonton.
It's nice that you have
And it was
extra legs laying around, you know?
great.
I mean, how many of us can say that? I don't
No,
have extra legs laying around.
I have
Maybe I
six legs.
should.
I have six extra, like, well, not extra. I have five extras in the main one I use.
Oh my word.
I have a lot of legs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
I have six
got
left feet.
legs.
I got six left feet.
She
No wonder I
knows.
can't dance.
Yes, you have 8 left feet.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Oh my
But,
goodness.
yeah, so then, like, it was funny because the physio lady had kinda given up, like, even coming in and talking to me anymore at this point because I was just like, "Nope, not today." And I mean, but, like, I'd be like, "But, like, do you have anything I could do sitting, like, with my arms or something?" So, I mean, I think she realized, like, I really wanted to do something, but,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I
You weren't just being difficult.
well, and, like, all the extra fluid I was holding was, like, it was hard to sit up, like, it was killing me. And I mean, that's
With the
part of
extra
why they want you up walking around
I
is
was
to
just gonna
kind of
ask, yeah, the fluid will reduce with motion, right? Like,
yeah,
with
yeah,
being oh, wow, yeah.
and yeah, yeah, it was great fun. And, like and I mean, all the fun that comes with that, because like, I couldn't get up to go to the bathroom, so yay, transfers and commodes. Ugh.
Oh, yuck. At least
Yeah.
it wasn't a catheter for that long. What an infection you coulda had.
No, no, they don't they take out the catheter pretty fast.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it was fun because I was blowing IV lines. So there was one time where most of my they decided to pull the central line out, which is like the main IV that they put through your neck, and I'm like, this is a mistake, guys. Don't pull it yet.
But they know what they're doing because 'cause they're
Yeah. They
doctors.
ended up sending me down to the anesthesiology department, which is a really creepy ass room down in the basement somewhere in that hospital. And like
Mhm.
wet cement floors and like creepy dripping sounds in the hallways and literally left me in this giant room by myself because this poor guy was running back and forth between different surgeries getting IVs started and stuff and
Horror
he's
story
like
waiting to happen.
and I'm like literally by myself. I have no call bell. I don't have my phone. I'm like there's flickering lights and I'm like and I think I was down there for like I think Linda said I was gone from the room for like almost 3 hours. And most of that, I was sitting in
Wow.
this on a stretcher in this scary, creepy room all by myself, literally being like, "I'm not gonna go crazy. I'm gonna be okay. La la
Freddy
la la."
Krueger isn't coming.
Oh, it was I was freaking out. I will not lie. I think that's the most freaked out I've felt in my life. Like, to heck with haunted houses. I
Wow.
was like, "Ah." So, yeah,
Yeah.
and, like, the anesthesiologist I got was, like, really weird. He was wearing, like, this weird beret thing, and, like, he was just kinda odd, and but it was like a surgical hat, but he's wearing it like a beret, like, it was just really odd. He
Maybe
was
his head
odd.
was lopsided.
No,
Don't
he was
laugh.
just
He probably
he was
had a
really
lopsided
odd.
head.
I
Yeah.
literally remember asking him, he's like, "It's a style thing."
Okay.
Like, "Yeah, okay."
Alrighty.
But,
Fair
yeah,
enough.
it took him several tries to get an IV in me, and he's like, "Why did they pull your central line?" I'm like, "Hey, I tried." I
Yeah.
tried. Like, I get it, they don't want that line in your neck any longer than they have to, but I'm like, "They're gonna regret this decision."
Mhm. And they did.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a fun thing too. So, when I came out of my surgery, they have these little tiny pumps that are only about this wide, so they're, like, about half the size of the ones we have in Saskatoon, which is a good thing because there were 10 of them on my pole.
Oh my. 10. What were they
10.
putting into you?
There was antibiotics, there was, like, just saline, there was because I wasn't being able to keep anything down, they were, like, doing food supplements, and yeah,
Right.
it was kinda crazy, it was kinda
Oh my goodness.
but yeah,
Wow.
so once I got to the point that I could transfer enough to get into my wheelchair, which my wheelchair was too tight, we had to take the arms off my wheelchair because I couldn't fit in my wheelchair because of
Yeah.
all 'cause of all the extra weight, that was fun. But then we had this massive, heavy, top heavy, stupid IV pole that we had to, like, push
Yes.
around with us. So,
Yes.
yeah, that was a fun challenge too. But thank
Yeah.
God I had Linda. I held the pole, she
Exactly.
pushed the chair. It was all good. But,
Yep.
yeah, so, like, over time, we'd like, you're bored, but you can't do anything, so I'd be like, "Ah, just go wander around the hospital, whatever." So we found some really cool places in that hospital. There's some really nifty little areas
Mhm. Mhm.
and, yeah, so finally got up and walking, and my first day walking when Dawn came in, I think her name was Dawn? I don't know, British lady, really nice. She comes in and she's like, "Okay, what are we doing for physio today?" And I said, "We're gonna walk today." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "My leg came. We got my leg here yesterday." She's like, "Excellent." So, because they don't know how steady I am, I don't know how steady I'm gonna be or anything because it's been, like,
Right.
probably 3 or 4 weeks since I've walked. Probably
Yeah.
only 3 at that point. I don't even remember where in the timeline I started, like, getting to get up and walk.
Yeah.
But they said, "Oh, we've got the perfect walker we'll bring in to help you with this." And the walker they brought in, I kid you not, do you remember, like, back in the '80s, those, like, saucer things you stuck your toddler in? And it had, like, the bead
Yes.
things on the front, it had, like, the big, like, surface you could put food or whatever on? Yeah,
Yes.
adult version of that. It was this big, huge thing that, like, strapped all around you and had, like, a big round frame around you. You took the whole hallway.
So when I was really little, little babies used to be in walkers, and that's what it
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah,
this oh
yes.
my goodness.
Yes, and it was quite the production
Wow.
to go for a walk because there was the person that had to push your IV pole. There was the person
Yeah.
that had to kinda hang on to the walker. Then there was
Yeah.
somebody that was actually the actual physiotherapist making sure you were doing okay and trying to help you, and then Linda trailing along kinda behind. So, yeah, we were quite the little crew walking
You're
up
a
and down the hallways.
team. Oh
And there was
my
only
goodness.
certain halls we could go down because the walker wouldn't fit down some of
Oh,
the
for
hallways
sure.
because of the
Of
other
course. Why would
equipment.
it fit?
Because
Oh
of
my
other equipment
good
in the hall. There is no room. She's like, "Oh, we can't go down this hallway. We know that. We've gotten stuck in
yeah.
this one." So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So how
so
long did it take you to walk semi-regularly? Like,
then it
when I
only
say
took a couple days.
semi-regularly, I mean, like, with a better
Yeah,
okay,
like the next day when we went
more
for a walk, I
stable.
just went with well, I wasn't stable, but I went with a normal walker, like,
Okay.
like older
I
people
can
have with the wheels, just yeah, like a
yeah,
normal walker.
yeah,
So, and
okay.
yeah, so we got to that and I used that for quite a bit until by the time I actually got checked out of the hospital, I was using my cane.
Mhm.
So, back to kinda where I was
That's
when I was
good.
drinking. Yeah,
Oh, that's really good.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was. So, yeah, so then that's 5 weeks, but you're there for a minimum of 3 months. And so, once you get out of the hospital, your routine is blood work at 7 a.m., which, Saskatchewan time, that's 6 in the morning
Mhm.
because this is winter.
Mhm.
And then right after noon, you have physio. The rest of the day is yours to kill.
Oh boy.
And I mean, we're talking by now, we're talking like December. So it's gross outside. So it's not like you want to go
Yep.
for a walk outside. Ugh.
Nope.
So
No.
yeah, we wandered around more and found more interesting spots in the hospital and started going around looking at all the cool Christmas displays in the different departments. And
Mhm.
we'd randomly go. There was this one really cool kind of like area that had like little waterfalls and trees and stuff in it. And then
Ooh.
it was all glass on the one side that looked out
Yeah.
over the roof that was like 2 floors lower, which I
Right.
was told was really pretty in the summer because there's grass on the roof that you look
Oh,
out over,
nice.
but it was just a heck of a lot of snow. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
it wasn't snow when we first got there, to be fair. It wasn't snow when we first got there, it was dead grass.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it was really nice. They had some nice furniture in there and stuff, and Linda and I would just go up there and sit and read for a few hours because what else do you do? We spent a
Mhm.
lot of time wandering Walmart, a lot of time wandering
Yeah.
Walmart because that was the other thing because I had so much fluid on me, um, I didn't fit any of my clothes to leave the hospital.
Oh, no. Yeah, that'd be bad.
So, and because I had all these stupid staples and stuff, like, it's not like you can just throw on a pair of jeans and zip over the staples. Not that my jeans would fit
No,
me.
for sure.
So, the
Leggings are still
social
tough enough.
yeah, so the social worker went down and got us, like, I don't know where they came from, but she got me this sweatpants and a sweatshirt that were, like, brand new, but, like, me in a sweatshirt and a brand new, like, we're talking, like, Huskies quality, like, Russell Athletics, like, thick stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna die in this."
Yeah.
So Linda's like, "Well, I have a bunch of Greg's old shirts," and her
With
husband's
her?
kind of a larger gentleman,
Why would
and
she have her husband's old shirts
she
with
uses
her?
them as nightgowns. She uses them as
Oh,
nightgowns
okay. Okay.
because they're shirts that don't actually fit him anymore. but they're still
Mm,
big on her and they work great as nightgowns. So she gave me all the
okay.
shirts she had of Greg's. And yeah, I felt really cool because they were all like farming equipment and semi truck stuff. Like, I'm
Yes.
in Peterbilt today and I'm neon yellow. Woo!
Woohoo!
Yeah. So that was one of our first priorities was going to Walmart and trying to find me some actual real
For
clothes.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
And she had, I think she had, if I remember right, I wore the sweatpants the first day. But here's the other problem: it's December. My coat doesn't fit.
And you need boots for a foot
Well,
too.
my shoes fit. My shoes were fine.
Okay, but your
My shoes were
coat,
fine. Yeah, my
yes.
coat, I couldn't get it around me. Like there was too much me to get the coat around, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? Can't afford
Oh
to buy a
no.
new coat. So the physio lady's like, well, it's not pretty, but I have like a coat that I wear like for like if I have to do yard work in the winter, you can have it. I'm like, cool, thanks. So then I had this weird brown, it was a weird coat. Like it had button, yeah, it was strange. It's not something I would ever pick out for myself, but it was really warm. Too warm.
Wonderful. And
Too
that
warm.
well, that's better than not warm enough.
Yeah, I just
So,
didn't do it up. I just didn't do it
that's
up.
great.
It was great.
Yeah.
So as I started to kind of lose after Christmas, because a lot of places have sales and stuff, we went to Mark's Warehouse and
Mhm.
got me a new coat.
Mhm.
So because they were on sale, so that was really good. But yeah, so we kind of tagged along and made do. So then when we our thing was, what do you do on the weekends? Because on the weekends you don't have blood work or physio.
Oh.
And our hotel room, we stayed in the residence, which is what used to be like the student quarters.
Mhm.
So they're like crappy little hospital single beds with like hospital
Mhm.
blankets and not very comfortable, but $40 a night for 2 people, so
That's worth it.
we'll take it.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have like, I mean, there's a lounge on each floor that you could go and watch TV or something, but it's like, so relied heavily on our laptops
For sure.
and you don't have a fridge or anything in your room. There's one in the lounge, but the windows don't seal really good, so we just stacked stuff along the windows. And it
So
wasn't
how
just
were
us, because we literally talked to other people in the residence and like, yeah, we just stacked stuff in the window.
okay. So how were streaming services in
Really good.
2018? They were good?
They
There
were
was lots
fun.
of them
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Watched a
okay.
lot of Netflix. A lot of Netflix.
Mm,
That
mhm.
was when I was about to say Braveheart, and that is not what I was thinking. Uh Scottish, Sam Heughan, Patrick Bull. What?
Outlander?
Outlander. Yes, that is kind of when Outlander had just hit Netflix. So
Okay.
yeah, I watched that whole series in like way too fast because then it was like, now what do I watch?
Exactly. Yeah.
Next, next. But yeah, so it was great. So
At
then
least
our
living in
next,
the hospital in Saskatoon, you had your friends who could come over and play games with you, and they could bring things and come and go and come and
yeah,
go,
I will
whereas in
say
Edmonton, you didn't have that community.
Linda was amazing for this because, she was really good at when I just wanted to be quiet and sit and watch things or read or whatever, no problem. But if I wanted to
Mhm,
sit and chat. Like it was good.
mhm.
And it's funny because like I never really talked to Linda that much growing up. I mean, she lived with us for a while, but like
Yeah,
she's my mom's friend, right?
exactly. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, so we got to know each other really well during that because like literally she was helping with dressing changes and yeah, yeah. Dressing
Wow.
changes. Okay, so the end of my incision huh, was in pubic hair region.
Ooh, yay.
Free wax job every day, several times a day. It was great. So
Oh, that would
we had,
hurt.
I had one nurse who's like, I'm gonna find a razor because this is just torture. Let me go find a razor because she's like, I can't
Yeah.
do this to you 3 times a day. This is just
No.
nasty.
Oh,
So
ouch, ouch,
yeah,
ouch, ouch, ouch.
That was great fun. Yeah. The
Yeah,
rest of the dressing, not so bad. That part, no, no, it was not. It was not fun.
that would
But
be deeply uncomfortable.
yeah, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yes.
It was great. It was great. And like,
Yes.
and of course, gravity. That's where everything was draining out. So like half the time we didn't have to change the rest of the dressing, just that bottom one. Because I'd go to sit up and like my hospital gown and my blankets were just sopping wet.
Mhm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
I need to be changed again, please. I'm
Oh, that must be
soaking
such a
wet.
helpless feeling.
It is, because like sitting up was effort.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it really sucked a
Yeah,
lot.
for sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so then we decided that weekends we'd go to movies because we could,
Okay.
pop me in my wheelchair and wheel in. So that was a good year for that because that was the year that like A Star is Born and Bohemian Rhapsody and the second Mary
Mm.
Poppins and like a lot of really good movies came out.
Yeah.
And we
Crazy
saw
Rich
all of
Asians
them.
was one of my favorites from that year.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
when the award ceremonies came around, I'd seen every single movie that was up for awards. Every single
Wow.
one of them. That's never
And did you
happened in
have
my
an
life.
opinion?
I've never usually seen even one of them. Normally, I'm like, that looks like a good movie to try watching."
Yeah.
But
Did
yeah,
you have an
so
opinion on which ones should win? And were
yeah,
you right?
yeah, I did, I really did.
Okay.
But,
Were you right half the time at least?
most of the time I was pretty close. Most of the time I
Mhm.
was pretty close, but yeah, like, it was really funny because one of the first movies we went to, Greg was in town because his load happened to be going through Edmonton, and he's like, "Let's go to the big mall and watch a movie at the movie theater," and that was really entertaining because I had to take the elevator because 'cause I'm in my wheelchair, and Linda's like, "Well, there's not enough room in there's one elevator that goes up there." So, like,
Yep.
she's like, "Me and Greg will just take the stairs." And she was actually getting, like, motion sickness walking on the upper floor because she could feel the floor moving, like, of the whole mall.
Oh my
And she's
word.
like, "I don't like walking in this mall. I don't like this." And she's like, "I think I'll come down in the elevator with
That
you
would
because
be
at least that feeling of
scary.
moving feels right." But
No.
yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
he picked the mule, and we were both like, "Ugh, I don't wanna go see a Clint Eastwood movie. I don't wanna go to the
It
mo."
was a good
It was
movie, though. It was
awesome.
so good.
That was a
Yes,
great movie. That was great. If
that was a
anybody
very
hasn't
good
seen The
movie.
Mule with Clint Eastwood, it's hilarious. It's great.
Yes. Yep. Anyway, so
So
it's
yeah,
been how many years now since then?
this November will be 6.
Wow. So it was
2023.
5 just a couple months ago, so it's like
Yeah,
5 and a
yeah.
half
Just
almost.
past just past 5, yeah.
Okay,
So
wow.
and I once we finally got to go home, it was really funny because 'cause they're like, "Well, you can go home now, but we need to see you again in, like, 3/4 of a week for your 3-month checkup." And Linda's like, "We're getting the hell out of here. We're going home." I'm
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, I wanna go home for those few days and sleep in my own damn bed."
yeah.
So we went home for I think it worked out to be 4 days, so we had to leave to come back. And then so you go
Mhm.
at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, and now it's yearly. But when the pandemic hit, they started just doing by phone calls,
Oh, okay,
and they're still on phone call protocol,
okay. It
which
just
kind of
probably
sucks.
ended up being so much
Well,
easier.
but it sucks because like Linda and I would make like a little weekend out of it because we'd leave the morning before and
Right.
we get to Edmonton and we check into the residence and then we go and hit like Olive Garden for lunch
Mhm.
and do something that evening and then we'd
Yeah.
get up and do the god awful blood work early in the morning and then go to
Mhm.
our appointment because they like scheduling me at like flipping 8 o'clock for those appointments for some stupid reason. Thank you, because that's 7 o'clock.
Well, if you get your blood work done and then you're done at 8 o'clock, you have time to go home that night.
Yeah, we didn't.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
we went home that day, but from there we
Oh,
would go to
okay.
IHOP for lunch, and then we go to IKEA, and then we
Ah.
go home.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, you did have a whole thing,
Yeah,
a
we had a whole
system.
thing to hit things that we couldn't do here.
Right, for sure.
I mean, now we
Okay,
can go to
cool.
Olive Garden here, but we couldn't then.
Right,
So
right.
so yeah, so yeah, so then they started doing this phone call thing, and Linda's like, "But now we don't get to do our trip." I'm like, I know, but
Mhm.
we'll see when and if they go back. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I can say I'm doing too well. They don't care. Like,
Maybe.
I think that's a
Yeah.
lot of it. And to be fair, I do see transplant in Saskatoon every 3 months.
Right.
Every 3 months, I see them next week.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And the surgeon here hates me because he's like, "Your numbers are better than mine. That's just not fair."
That's because you take better care of yourself. You've had a lot of practice.
Yeah, I tried telling
Yeah.
him that, and he's like, "No, just it's not fair. Your blood sugars are better, your pancreas clearance numbers are or your kidney numbers are better." He's like, "It's just not fair." And I'm like, "Do you wanna
Yeah.
go through what I've gone through to get to having better numbers?" He's like, "Good point." No,
Exactly. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
no.
So how
So,
has your life been since you've had all of this work done, that these
well,
transplants and
there's been surprising things too with, like, not going to dialysis. All of a sudden,
yeah,
you have these people that you spent 5 hours 3 times a week with that you don't see now.
yeah, and you've become very good friends with them for so many years.
Exactly.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
like, that's weird. And yeah, now more depressing than that is I had basically 2 really good friends in dialysis. There was Lisa and Carol. And Carol actually had a transplant before I did, but it
Mm.
failed after about 3 months.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So and she just had a kidney transplant. So it failed after about 3 months. And I think they finally just put her back on the list again for
Wow.
to get a transplant again.
Mhm.
So and, like, yeah, in her case, it, like, failed, like, quickly and badly, like, her new kidney, like, shriveled up.
Oh,
Like,
my.
it was weird. They said, "Yeah, this doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, it does." And
Yeah.
the best thing I remember talking to her after she got her transplant, she's like, "Yeah, wait till you get the pot pills." I was like, "What?" So, the immunosuppressant that I am on, the one that I can take, is literally smells like really stinky pot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Really bad, and you know what? When I had to take it in liquid form, it tastes like stinky pot.
Ew. I've never
I like
done pot,
I
but
they're little gel caps, so I, like, roll them up, and like liquid gel,
oh,
so I roll the package up as tight as I can because otherwise my garbage stinks like pot, it's so gross.
ew, nice.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, boy.
totally. But yeah, no, so, like, I didn't expect that, like, I didn't realize, yeah, I won't see, like and all the staff and stuff that are there that you see 3 times a week, you don't see now,
Mhm.
which is weird,
How
and
many different medications are you on now?
I am on, I think about 20. I haven't counted them lately.
Okay.
I haven't counted them lately. They tried putting me on a phosphate supplement a couple months ago, and my body did not like that, and so they're like, "Yeah,
Mm,
don't worry about it." And then
yeah.
last week they phoned me and they're like, "From your last blood work, you need to go on iron supplements." I'm like, "I can't take the iron supplements. That's why we cut them, guys." And they're like, "Okay, well, we'll do IV iron." I'm like, "No, that's worse." They did that in dialysis, and that was really bad because most
Mm.
people get constipated with iron. I have the opposite problem.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
I don't wanna take iron supplements, it does not go well. I'm like,
No.
"Can I just try eating better and, get some natural iron?"
More,
They're like, "Yeah, sure, try
organ
that.
food,
Try that for a bit, see how that goes."
liver, onions, kidneys. Yeah. Steak and kidney pie.
Green vegetables, meat, any meat, nuts, so we got lots of those kinds of things, so,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it was interesting, but yeah, so, but yeah, so I didn't expect to, like, miss people from dialysis, so that was weird, and then it's also, like, all of a sudden I have all this extra time too, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Hmm, I have extra
What can I
time."
do?
Yeah,
So now you
but
have a friend who does absolutely nothing with her days. So I come to Saskatoon and we go for coffee a lot.
yeah,
Starbucks.
that's also when I started going to my field house program was after that too, so
Right.
that's 3 times a week, so that kind of fills a bit of that in, so and I
Yeah.
have friends there now, so that's
Wonderful.
they're much older friends than me because 'cause I'm the literally called baby, I'm the baby in the group.
Well, you're not yet 50, so you're still pretty much a child.
Yeah, and
So,
the majority of them are like either really up there in their 50s. Most of them are like 60s and 70s because a lot of the people that go when I go is cardiac patients
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they have a doctor there during the cardiac group. So that's why I get to go with
Mhm.
that one because I have a very complicated medical history.
Do
I
you
love that
ever?
training. It makes me laugh.
Yes,
I'm like,
yes.
it's ironic they put me at the cardiac group because I don't have any heart problems at all.
That's the one
And I
thing.
never have. And I'm
Yep.
glad for that. I'm glad for that. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad for that. But yeah, so it's been
Yeah.
interesting. And just like the weirdest thing after was I looked at Linda and I'm like, she's like, I was like, I need something fizzy. This is when I was still in the hospital. I still had the stupid tube. And I was like, I need
Mm.
something fizzy. I think that'll feel better. And she's like, okay, what do you want? And I'm like, she's like, remember, you can have anything you want now. Like, I can have regular pop.
Yes.
Whoa, mind blown.
Yes.
You know what's
So,
really funny? I found though I drank a lot of pop before my transplant, I don't drink a lot of pop now at all. Because
yeah.
I can drink like things that have sugar in them and I don't have to, I don't know. My biggest struggle is water because I went from fluid restriction of no more than a liter a day to minimum of 3 liters a day.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my
I'm
3rd cup.
I'm
So,
still not very good at that.
yeah.
I'm still not very good at that. And they just laugh. They're like, "Have you been drinking all your water?" I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Yeah, that's what we hear from everybody." So, because nobody's good
Yeah,
at that.
exactly. Well, my friend, I think, an hour and a half should do it.
Yeah,
But, I am so grateful that you did have all of this work, that you did have these transplants. Your life is just leaps and bounds better than it was before, and I am really grateful to
yeah.
still have you around, so
I still weirdly feel
yeah.
strange not having to do blood tests and insulin when I eat. Because
Well, come
39
on, it was a
years of
lot of
doing that,
your
it feels weird.
that's right, that's exactly right. You're gonna have a bit of a process for that, and it may be the rest of your life, right?
Yeah, probably. Because
So
I mean, at this point, it was 39 years of doing that, so it just feels wrong. So yeah, I still catch myself. I'll get back to my room with a plate and then be like, "Oh, I didn't do insulin. I didn't do my blood. No, I don't have to do
yeah,
that."
I
Linda
don't
had to
need
keep
to.
like stopping me on that in Edmonton. So
Mm,
it's like, "Oh, I didn't
mhm,
do my blood test." She's like, "Sam, you don't have to." Oh yeah. Right.
yeah.
Do we bring my insulin with us to the restaurant? Sorry.
If you want, you can take a blood sugar test kit with you just to make you feel better.
Yeah, no thanks.
No? Okay.
No. I have
Yeah,
one. It's like right across the room from me, but
there you go. Your roommate should use
now,
it.
see, now my problem is because I've always been a person who can feel my blood sugars going up and down. I don't like it because now I can feel it go up
Mm,
and I just have to sit and let it deal with itself.
yeah,
Whereas before it's like, oh, I'm getting high, insulin. Now it's like,
yeah,
now I have to sit and wait this out.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, anyway, I do believe we should probably call it a night.
everybody,
We'll do coffee or something like that soon. Bye. Say bye,
bye,
Mary. Bye,
bye,
Mary.
Mary.
Okay. Anyway, I will talk to you later. Thank you so much for all of this. And if you haven't seen the rest of Samara's journey, it is absolutely fascinating. So, I mean, it's worth it to take a look at the videos. So, have a good night and a happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. I'm trying to convince my husband to come on with me and, do something lovey-ish for tomorrow. I'm not sure
Good
it'll
luck.
happen, but,
Good luck.
we can
Good luck.
always, yeah, thank you.
Don't
Alrighty, I'll talk
make
to you
me
later.
too much of a quiet person. I don't see that going, but good luck.
Yeah. Alrighty, have a great evening.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.